Hello, friends. Welcome back to Storytime with Reverend Aaron. I hope that you are well and healthy. I'm glad that you're back with us this week. We've got a couple more stories. I'm not sure when you're listening to this, but right now in this time, it's Maundy, Thursday, the beginning of the 3 great days in the church, the Triduum, where we remember the suffering of Jesus, his death on the cross, his burial, and then eventually moving into Easter and resurrection. Our 2 stories that we have today are, the first one is Eric Carle, The Tiny Seed. And we're going to dive right in, okay? It's autumn. A strong wind is blowing. It blows flower seeds high in the air and carries them far across the land. One of the seeds is tiny and smaller than any of the others. Will it be able to keep up with the others? And where are they going? One of the seeds flies higher than the others. Up it goes, flies too high, and the sun's hot rays burn it up. But the tiny seed sails on with the others. Another seed lands on a tall and icy mountain. The ice never melts and the seed cannot grow. The rest of the seeds fly on, but the tiny seed does not go as fast as the others. Now they fly over the ocean. One seed falls into the water and drowns. The others sail on with the wind, but the tiny seed does not go as high as the others. One seed drifts down into the desert. It is hot and dry. The seed cannot grow. Now the tiny seed is flying very low, but the wind pushes it up and on with the others. Finally, the wind stops and the seeds fall gently down on the ground. A bird comes by and eats one seed, but the tiny seed is not eaten. It is so small that the bird does not see it. Now it is winter. After their long trip, the seeds settle down. They look just as if they're all going to sleep in the earth. Snow falls and covers them like a soft white blanket. A hungry mouse that also lives in the ground eats a seed for his lunch, but the tiny seed lies very still, and the mouse does not see it. Now it is spring. After a few months, the snow has melted. It's really spring. Birds fly by, the sun shines, rain falls. The seeds grow so round and full, they start to burst open a little. Now they are not seeds anymore. They are plants. First, they send roots down into the earth. Then their little stems and leaves begin to grow upward toward the sun and air. There's another plant that grows much faster than the new little seeds. It's a big fat weed, and it takes all the sunlight and the rain away from one of the small new plants, and that little plant dies. The tiny seed hasn't begun to grow yet. It will be too late. Hurry. But finally, it starts to grow into a plant. The warm weather also brings the children out to play. They too have been waiting for the sun and for springtime. One child doesn't see the plants as he runs along and he breaks one. Now it cannot grow anymore. The tiny plant that grew from the tiny seed is growing fast, but its neighbor grows even faster. Before the tiny plant has 3 leaves, the other plant has 7. And look, a bud, and now even a flower. And what is happening? There are footsteps. Then a shadow looms over them. Then a hand reaches down and breaks off the flower. A boy has picked the flower to give to a friend. Oh, it's summer. Now the tiny plant from the tiny seed is all alone. It grows on and on. It does not stop. The sun shines on it and the rain waters it. It has many leaves. It grows taller and taller. It is taller than the people. It's taller than the trees. It's taller than the houses. And now a flower grows on it. People come from far and near to look at this flower. It is the tallest flower they have ever seen. It is a giant flower. All summer long, the birds and bees and butterflies come visiting. They have never seen such a big, beautiful flower. Now it is autumn again. The days grow shorter. The nights grow cooler. And the wind carries yellow and red leaves past the flower. Some petals drop from the giant flower and they sail along with the bright leaves over land and down to the ground. Oh, the wind blows harder. The seed has lost almost all of its petals. It sways and bends away from the wind. But the wind grows stronger and shakes the flower. Once more, the wind shakes the flower, and this time, the flower's seed pods open. Out come many tiny seeds that quickly sail away, far away on the wind. The end. I hope you enjoyed this reading of The Tiny Seed by Eric Carle. Sometimes tiny things, even things that we don't think mean a lot, can actually end up making a really big difference in the world. Our next story is God's Got the Whole World in God's Hands, which is a traditional song, but this version is by Kadir Nelson, and it's a beautiful book. So I hope you can see the pictures really well. God's got the whole world in God's hands. God's got the whole world in God's hands. God's got my brothers and my sisters in God's hands. God's got the whole world in God's hands. God's got the sun and the rain in God's hands. God's got the moon and the stars in God's hands. God's got the wind and the clouds in God's hands. And God's got the whole world in God's hands. God's got the rivers and the mountains in God's hands. And God's got the oceans and the seas in God's hands. And God's got you, me, in God's hands. God's got the whole world in God's hands. God's got everybody here in God's hands. God's got everybody there in God's hands. God's got everybody, everywhere in God's hands. God's got the whole world in God's hands. And God has you in God's hands as well. Even during this time that might seem a little scary with all the stuff in the news about coronavirus and COVID-19 and the pandemic that we're experiencing right now and how we're all stuck at home, God's got you in God's hands. God loves you so very much. Whether you're a teeny tiny seed or a giant flower, whoever you are and wherever you are, God's got you in God's loving hands. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I hope that you can join us either for our services online or for Storytime next week. And until then, God loves you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.